This is sort of like new territory. I've never spoken to a matchmaker before, or anybody in that industry. So this is going to be really entertaining to a lot of people.
I am going to solve dating in Dubai. If you're like, oh, I give up, there are no good men here, there are no good women here, you're always going to fail.
I call it a roller coaster ride. There's the
Okay.
highs and there's the lows. How do you deal with cultural differences here?
I think that's one of the greatest positives about dating here in Dubai is that you can literally date the entire map.
What advice would you give to someone who's a new expat here in terms of navigating the dating scene here?
Say yes to every date.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, eh? My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. I can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too prestige.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
flight
going
out,
on,
man.
man?
Flat out.
Welcome back to the Last Flight Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Please like and comment on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel or to wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Also, give us a follow on all our social media accounts at Last Flight Out Podcast, except on X, formerly known as Twitter, where we could just be found at LFO Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. You can find me across all my social media accounts at JLubrero26, and you can find Mike at
If Mike was here. Once again, thank you for tuning in today. I think this is probably the most highly anticipated episode that we're going to have.
For you.
We have an incredible woman on here that's going to talk about her successful journey as an expat, as well as the hot topic of dating in Dubai.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The following guest is a true visionary in the world of dating and matchmaking. She's the founder and CEO of her own groundbreaking matchmaking concierge at Maxion, which employs the cutting-edge power of AI to unite like-minded singles in the vibrant heart of the UAE. She's also a thriving entrepreneur with her own matchmaking agency for ultra-high net worth individuals. Her thoughts, wisdom, and insider knowledge have been featured in regional publications like The National, Khaleej Times, Arabian Business, Gulf News, and many more. A published author, a former D1 athlete, a former educator, hailing from my very own home state of New York. Please give a warm round welcome to Christiana Maxion, aka the Dubai Matchmaker.
Hi.
Did I get everything right?
Welcome.
Did I get everything right?
You did.
Okay, cool.
That was so nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining
Of
us. Seriously, I know it's been a little bit.
My fellow Americans. There aren't many of us
There's
here.
not many of us.
So we have to band together.
There's not. So Christiana, before we get into the interview and into talking about you, I've been doing this little game in the beginning of our sort of interviews where it's a word association. So I say a word and you tell me the first thing that comes out of your mind. It has nothing to do with the conversation. So I think this one's very fitting for you.
Oh God.
Love.
Love.
Yeah.
No, love. I love love.
You love love.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. That's good. All right. Wait, you have to love love. I guess in your profession. So like for me, this is sort of like new territory. I've never spoken to a matchmaker before or anybody in that industry. So this is going to be really entertaining to a lot of people. So, but before we get into your sort of professional journey,
Yes.
why don't you give the people in the audience a little bit of background? How did you end up to the UAE? Because again, New York is pretty far away.
I mean, I feel like, I moved here in 2016.
Okay.
So I moved from New York. I didn't live anywhere else besides New York my entire life. And back in New York, like my whole family lives within 5 miles of each other. So I never thought I would ever leave. I fell in love with a boy. He was there on a business trip.
Okay.
And we had a whirlwind romance, everything fast tracked. And a year later, I ended up moving to Abu Dhabi. So I moved to Abu Dhabi in 2016. But so yes, I did move here for love in a relationship. But definitely did the smart thing and made sure that I had a job when I moved here. Because my former partner, he actually had seen, like he had lived in the region for years and he had seen like other people go through the bring your spouse or bring your partner to the UAE, and then maybe they didn't have a purpose here, and then things fell apart. We used to say that the UAE is where relationships go to die. Used to until
you got here.
and I opened up my agency. But yeah, I mean, so I moved here.
Okay.
We ended up splitting only a few months into me being here.
Wow.
And
Not because you didn't have a purpose here, clearly.
no, I did. So I came here as a KG1 teacher.
No, that's what I meant. It wasn't
Yeah.
because you didn't have a purpose.
No, it wasn't. But I'm so happy that I did come here with a purpose and a career, because I did sign a 2-year contract when I came.
Okay.
And instead of what my parents kind of wanted me to do was to go back to New York, because they were like, F it, break the contract, come back to New York, be with your family. It's a really roundabout way. I mean, it's a crazy story of how we broke up, but I won't get into it. It's way too long. But anyway,
But just
what I will say,
I was gonna say, was it like heartbreaking that was a consideration, or it was like, all right, so but I got my job?
No, it was traumatic.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
But I will say that that breakup and then me staying, the reason why I stayed in the UAE was because I really saw that people here get promoted based on merit rather than longevity, especially in, I like to say, an industry like education.
Okay.
So for example, like back in the US, or here actually, I became a published author and a leader in a school by the age of 28.
Wow, congratulations.
Or 29, sorry. Well, no, it was 28 and 29. I'll claim 28. And and then where that would have taken me years, and probably till I was 48 or 49 in order to achieve that kind of status in the States, especially in New York. So I will say that if you do take action here, you can really make way for yourself to succeed.
Absolutely.
So I was really happy that I climbed that corporate ladder. But then I moved from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. We were just talking about this off camera. So I'm from New York. So like I'm very much like Dubai is my vibe. Like I know you're in Abu, but like I just, So the real catalyst, the real like kick in the rear that made me go, okay, I need to move out of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, please let us know.
I was on a date, and it was the 8th guy I dated from the same company as my ex, and I said, it is time for me to go.
We probably know which company.
There's only like 4 anyway in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Let me just stop you right there. And I guess when I was living in Abu Dhabi, and I was
were you in Abu too?
I was in Abu Dhabi for 2.5 years before I got
2.5.
here. Before I got here to Dubai, and I was on I was on a client secondment at a government entity. I'll just put it that way. And I saw that people stay in close proximity. We're from New York, right? So I always say, when I was living in New York, my work friends were hardly my friends outside of work. But I find that when I moved here, I saw that the opposite, where everybody's friends, like they're involved in every facet of their life, even including on the weekend, even their dating, right? So it sort of seems like you have never have any privacy, especially in a place like, I mean, the UAE is small anyway, but Abu Dhabi is very small.
Well, yes, and I call it proximity settling. It's when you are friends with people that you work with, people that live in your neighborhood, rather than people you're truly compatible with.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's normal, right? And I mean, we can get into this when we talk about my app, but like, basically what happens a lot as expats is that we do go through a lot of proximity settling. We go through a lot of trial and error relationships here that kind of like take you on this long journey to actually find your true compatible friends, where I'm hoping with Maxion we get to expedite that process with you or for you.
And we'll definitely get into that later on in the episode. But one thing I will say to that is, did you find that, like, again, coming from New York, like when I was with my work colleagues, and I have nothing against them, or, you know, it's just, I just don't see them as being my friends outside of work for the most part, right? But I felt when they sense that about me, like, you know, they invite me to several things and I say no, then they start ostracizing you a little bit. As opposed to New York, they're like, no one's gonna care. You go into 1,000 different crannies, you never see them again, right? Yeah. But I find that here, like, if you don't fit into the mold, people are very quick to ostracize you. So certain expats can feel a little I don't
Offended.
know, offended, or they can get lonely or whatever it may be because they don't have like a lot of friends that they're not
Definitely.
compatible with. But it's sort of like, what are your choices? Either you go out and find an app like Maxion, which we'll talk about later on, or which didn't which wasn't in existence years ago,
Exactly.
or you just sort of settle into being friends with people you normally wouldn't be friends with, right?
Oh my gosh, I was literally like, I was reflecting on this the other day, and I remember being in Abu Dhabi and sitting at a table, like a dinner table, right? And this is, I hope I don't offend anybody, but I mean, nowadays you can say anything, you can offend everybody, so it doesn't matter. But I was sitting at a dinner table, and I looked around the table, and I was like, oh my gosh, if any of my New York friends saw who I was sitting with at this table, they'd be like, who are you, you weirdo?
What was wrong with them?
No, just meaning like it wasn't the normal set of people that I would have hung out with, maybe in New York. I'm so happy and grateful. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe, that I now have my really amazing core group of friends, and I keep meeting more and more people that elevate me and that I'm so proud to call friends. So, but that took, like, I'm here over 7 years. Like, it took me years to find
But
that.
Mike's experience is different because you're a ball player. So ball connects you to all these guys that you've met out here, right? Like he plays
That helps
basketball,
with
so it
sport,
helps him. He's gonna be friends with them, whether it doesn't matter what country. They connected through the common interests of basketball, right?
It's all about that foundation of compatibility.
Exactly. But I would say my experience is different, where I found myself in places where I would even make friends with people that I normally wouldn't make friends with, but I felt like that allowed me to grow. So like I've learned to love the game of golfing. And I would never golf before, but that's a thing out here. I was like, all right, like it pushed me to like, I gotta learn this because otherwise I'm not gonna hang out with these guys. I'm not gonna have anything in common with them. And I actually learned to love it, and the guys are pretty cool. So, you know, once you get to know them, once you give them a chance. So
yeah, I'll give you that. There's certain people that I've met that wouldn't maybe have traditionally have gone, and
Oh my gosh,
they're so
1000%.
great. I'm like, wow, like if it wasn't because of this situation of me being an expat, I wouldn't have met you otherwise.
One of my besties when I was in Abu Dhabi was a 64-year-old woman.
Oh,
We used to like just like kick it and hang out all the time, and I absolutely adored her.
She's giving me the secrets to life.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you move on from Abu Dhabi to Dubai,
gosh,
right? You notice that you dated this one guy. So you know you're still an educator at this point, I'm assuming.
Yes. So I'm still working.
Can you
in
explain
education,
Can you explain how you got in from education into matchmaking? 'Cause it seems like a pretty niche area, right, to get into. So
For sure.
How did you go? I mean, I guess I could kind of see education and matchmaking going together, but how did you sort of make that jump?
So during the pandemic in 2020, so I've always been a person like I need to do things. What is it? It's like idle time, idle mind. I don't know, whatever the term is.
You don't like to sit on idle hands.
No, I can't,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So during 2020, especially working in education, you're home and you're not going into work. You're doing less work hours-wise. And I decided to start an Instagram account called Dating in Dubai, and where I was documenting my experience as an expat here, dating. And I was doing it because I love storytelling and I love connecting with other people. I personally love dating in Dubai. But what I learned from that account is that people hated dating in Dubai.
I've heard the majority of I heard the other side of it. I haven't heard too many people say.
I love it.
I haven't heard that I love it. Man or woman, I haven't heard that they loved it out here. So
I call it a roller coaster ride. There's the highs and there's the lows.
That's with anything in life, though. I also think, though, that people, I think that the account gained some popularity because people were attracted to like my empowered dating standpoint, where I always say to date with high standards but zero expectation. Like you can't go into a date expecting the other person to be your spouse, right? Because then you're always, for the majority of the time, is going to be let down. But you always have your high standards where you go in with positivity and just, I mean, there are tricks and tips that I give to make every first date successful, and think that people like really liked that. But anyway, the overall lesson that I learned from this account was that people hated dating in Dubai. Right. And I've always been a solution seeker. So I literally said, I was like, I am going to solve dating in Dubai.
okay.
But the real kick in the rear again that made me do this is at the time, I was working for a private school out here, leading a staff of 55. They caught wind of the account and let me go in 24 hours.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, they just said, I mean.
What was the formal reason that they gave you?
So they didn't say this in these words, but you can just deduce it down to that it didn't match the ethos of their school, which is fine. And I totally get that. And I truly believe that every left turn, right turn, U-turn in your life leads you to your destination.
Every rejection is a redirection, right?
Yes. And what I took from that, so I mean, I was still on salary, I was still on my visa. I couldn't do anything with dating in Dubai. That was part of the contract of me leaving. But it gave me this time to reflect and kind of figure out what I wanted to do, how I would solve this problem. It started out that I was going to be like a dating manager, like manage people's dating lives. But then, because I was like, you know what? It's a full-time job to date. If you're dating for like a partner. Well, I mean, dating for partner or anything, it is a full-time job. Yeah. So I knew how to navigate the scene. So I said that's how I'm going to do it. But then it evolved into a matchmaking agency. And I mean, I was just like, I didn't go to any matchmaking school or anything like that. I just said in my head, I was like, how would people want to date here to make their lives easier? I have amazing women in my network. So I just started collecting people to put into my database. And I've always been a connector my entire life, whether it was for friends, romantic connections, business relationships. Yeah. I've always been, you should meet so-and-so, and have been super successful that way. Yeah. My grandfather used to work in politics, so he's always been a connector as well. So with that, I just kind of took a leap and I just said, I got my first client and I said, F it, let's do this.
Congratulations. Nice. So that's going to be my next thing. Just as a technical question, are there any like qualifications or courses you need to say to become a dating coach, matchmaker?
Yeah, I mean, there are, but in all honesty, you either have a knack for it or you don't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that also what helped me really grow my business, enhance my skills, and deliver all the success that we have is I had my agency at first and it was just me. It was a solo agency. And caught wind of a huge global brand who then said, hey, let's join a team, let's join forces. Congrats. And being with them, and they have over 3 decades of experience. Our systems are completely flawless. We house the largest matchmaking database in the entire globe. Other matchmakers come to us when they're looking for top profiles. So having them as partners in a team, it's been incredible. So
awesome. Wow. So now that you're at the point, so how close were you going back to New York when they let you go? Or were you were like, I'm going to make it work here no matter what I
love the UAE.
Okay.
I made my decision to stay here after I was seeing success in education.
Got it.
Because, I mean, I had really built a name for myself and a reputation. Like, I was like a teacher trainer all over UAE, like when I was 28 years old, you know. I published author of, where was I? Emirates Literature Festival, Abu Dhabi International Book Fair. Like, I loved education. I mean, I still do, but I'm not in it anymore.
You educate people now in a way, right?
Exactly.
Right? So that's why I said you can connect the two.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you have your matchmaking agency now, so we're along the road. Did you have initially, because I scrolled around to your website, you guys have a pretty arduous vetting process. Did you have a vetting process at the beginning when you first started, or was it just sort of like, okay, I kind of need to get a client, or how did you decide that the client that you ultimately took on was the right first client?
No, I mean, of course, when you start businesses, right, you're figuring it out along the way. And I mean, I've had a couple clients that I've had to let go of because they either just weren't adhering to the rules that I put in place, that were put in place by the UAE, and I had to let them go that way. Also, yeah, I think that when you first start a business too, you have this mindset of like, gosh, you need clients, right? Because obviously, like, how else are you going to survive? Yeah. But then as you grow and you do become more discerning in who you choose to work with, the universe rewards you.
So when you say client, I guess, can any woman sign up, or, hey, sign me up, I want to meet, I want to meet something, the love of my life, or is it is it the man that's the client and,
Yeah.
you know, he has to pay a fee or something like that?
Yeah, so women are free to join our database.
Okay.
I only work with men exclusively as paying clients because our database is absolutely huge in the sense that, that's always been our business model, that we work with men.
And do you find it that women don't need help with matchmaking? Like, what's been your experience, sort of your own personal experience? I mean, obviously, I would imagine that women can find dates, but whether or
It's
not
so
to find
funny
a
you
quality
think
date,
that.
right? A quality
dates.
date,
Yeah,
quality
'cause
date. It's not the
dating,
quantity,
yeah.
it's the quality, right?
Yeah.
So that's really why, or one of the big reasons why I'm launching Maxion, is that both parties pay and both parties are on the platform.
Got it.
So I'm excited for that because also we get to reach a much wider audience, because with the core business of matchmaking, the really personalized, hands-on, it's the price point that most people can't access. But it's also a business where I only take on a certain number of clients per quarter, where Maxion is going to be a way that you get access to my services on a much wider scale.
So is the typical client that you take on super ultra high net worth? That's pretty much.
Yes.
And
I'm
this
assuming
is
that's
for
one of the.
both genders.
So for the matchmaking, the core business, we only take on men as clients. For Maxion, everybody can
Everybody.
join. I mean, you can apply. It's about if we accept you as a member or not. And we have different prices when we're launching, and then basically how our memberships are going to work from there.
Got it. Okay, so what's sort of like the vetting process to become a client?
To become a matchmaking client,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I can talk about it. It's all over my website. So you have to apply to be a client first, right? We have some information on you. And then we will invite you if we feel like you might be a good fit. We'll invite you for a screening call. This is where we get to know you, what you're looking for, your personality, see if we can even help you. Because sometimes we get on a call with these guys and we don't have what they're looking for, and then there's no need to move forward after that. Then we do a paid video call, where I put together a presentation of current women that we have in our database based on your screening call of who we think would be a good fit. It's a great way. It's like that intermediary step before signing on for a full membership. It's a great way for us to see what your type is, because men always say, "Oh, I'm attracted to everything. Oh, I'm really open." But when we start showing you profiles and you're learning about these women confidentially, obviously, we get to understand what you're actually looking for. Can we help you? But it's a great way for not only our potential clients to vet us in our database, but for us to see how well we work together or not work together. Both parties go apart separately, and we decide, okay, do we want to invite this person to be a full-time matchmaking client? And then we would send contracts, payment. We have our welcome call, and then start dating.
Okay. And do you find that the men that you traditionally work with just don't have the time to meet people, or they're incapable of
1000%.
meeting people?
No.
So they just need you to sort of bring me. I can handle the dating portion while I'm in the date, but I just don't have the time to go out to meet people.
So you're a lawyer, right? So usually people call you when they have a problem.
And that's the only time they call me.
Yes. So for me, I love lawyers. I have lawyers now. I've had lawyers for the past years. I love a lawyer, right? Just to set the foundation. But beyond that, I always say that matchmakers, our job is you're outsourcing your love life to an expert.
Okay.
To us. We have all the women, interview, vet them, see if they're a good match for you. And because we've been doing this, we have years of experience, we understand what could be a good match. But it's up to you to decide whether or not you have a connection. But I think when you're going back to the time factor, is that we plan, book, confirm the date, manage the communication, manage the feedback afterwards, so that we're expediting the entire process for you, but then we're also expediting so that you find success.
Okay. And you're kind of removing the guesswork, where you
We're
take feedback and it's like,
yes.
did she really like me? Can we go on a second date? Or, okay.
I love the feedback process.
Okay. So at what point does your services get removed from that interaction between the two people? Like, at
Yep.
what point is there like, okay, off on you, go
Yeah.
fly off the nest, like
Yeah.
do what you need to do?
So the way that we operate, so each client is very different.
Mm-hmm.
Some clients prefer like a more hands-on approach, and like we walk them through relationships. Like I have some clients that still message me and are like, "Hey, I want to get so and so a present. What do you think I should get her?" And then I'll end up messaging her, "Hey, how's it going?" Da, 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 da. and I'll figure out what would be a good one. Like I even go buy presents for my clients.
Birkins,
The,
and
and
that,
all of this.
the ultimate wing woman.
Yes, exactly. And then we have some clients, like after the first date, once it's a yes on both sides and we get consent from both parties, we do share contact information.
Oh, they don't even have contact information for
Not
another.
before, no.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, and I guess one of the rules is don't ask for.
Yes,
the
it's
contact.
because, so when I first opened up my agency here, I didn't know if it was allowed to have a matchmaking agency.
Oh, okay.
So when I hired lawyers to go through every law you could imagine, and they basically, we came up with a set of rules that would match and be accepted by this region. And that's one of them. And I just think about consent in general, and that in order to make the process super duper smooth, let me handle everything. Once it's a yes, go fly.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. It just makes things so much easier and smoother for sure.
Now, are your clients, is it a lifelong sort of
No.
informal relationship with you guys? Like in terms, no. So once they're done and
Yeah.
once they've deemed it successful, you guys remove, that's the end of the contract.
No, so you sign up for membership with us. Now, we're probably the only agency that offer unlimited matchmaking opportunities in your membership.
Got it.
So you buy time with us. Like, I think shortest contract I've ever done was like 3 months, but I usually say 4 months to 6 months is like a nice sweet spot where we can really find you success.
Yeah.
And to personalize it a little bit, what's success to you in dating?
Oh my gosh, so each client's so different.
I know, but for
Yeah,
you,
for
you personally,
Oh, I mean, of course, I would, a husband
okay,
you can build something with,
okay.
business, life, family.
So I have a question for you. So
Go.
you love dating here.
I do.
I'm not sure. You married? Or-
No.
Okay, all right. So
yet.
you love dating here. Do you love just going on dates, or are you like, I'm looking for a husband?
Well,
you're
I don't
applying.
think you should ever be looking. You attract what you need and what you want. Right now, I am building 3 different businesses. So I'm meeting amazing people through that process. Like, you'll never see me on an app, on the traditional apps. Maxion, you might. But no. I think that I'm putting the steps in place where I have now, I love who I am. Therefore, I know that I'm going to attract my ideal partner.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Okay, so what's the most ridiculous excuse you ever heard from a client for not wanting to continue with a potential match? Without,
So
I guess,
I
without
hear this
like, I guess,
so
like,
much.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like, what's the most ridiculous excuse? You're like, are you serious?
Well, okay. So you want ridiculous funny or the thing I hear all the time?
I want ridiculous
Both.
funny,
I want
and I want
both.
both. You gotta give me the one that you want all the
She's
time.
too skinny.
Is the one you've heard the most?
No,
or like,
ridiculous.
Okay.
skinny.
She's too skinny. I mean, listen, it's a personal preference. Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, it's personal preference, and I get that. Men are very visual creatures. I always say that men fall in love through their eyes. Women fall in love between their ears.
Yeah.
We're very much, you can coerce us into things by laughing, making us laugh.
Mr. Smiley right here, man.
Yes, yeah. So, but the thing that I hear a lot after first dates that I find personally ridiculous, there was no chemistry, there was no spark, and I'm like, but what you guys are searching for, this elusive spark, this is something that has been like created by Hollywood, and usually that spark that you're searching for is actually a surge of anxiety where you're unsure about the person and the person isn't making you feel safe. Where instead I promote going on a second date with somebody, because when you first meet somebody, especially like a quote unquote cold meeting, right? Of course, there's going to be nerves involved. Like there's no familiarity there just yet. I always encourage people go on second dates. I think then somebody feels more comfortable with the other person. And also, you're not meant to feel anxious when you're actually supposed to be with the right partner. You're supposed to feel safe. It is supposed to feel comfortable. I laugh when I see like, or women or men, right, saying like, oh, I hate the drama, but yet that's all they search for in relationships. The toxicity
They
can
love
be
that.
addicting.
People love
and
that.
I find that so crazy because for me, what I love in life is peace. I love peace.
As someone who's in a relationship, that's one of the
Okay.
things that I love about my partner.
Yeah.
She brings me a certain sense of peace in my life.
Yes.
I'm not saying our relationship is perfect. Obviously, we argue, right? Like every normal relationship, but we always try to find a compromising ground, right?
Yeah.
There's none of that toxicity. And, you know, in the beginning, when her and I started speaking, we got to know each other.
Yes.
We spoke for a whole month without seeing each other because I was living in London at the time and she
Okay.
was in New York. So all we had was to talk to each other. And even now, when I'm in Dubai and she's now in New York currently temporarily, all we do is talk to each other, right? So we get to really get to know each other so that when we're actually in front of each other, it's sort of just...
It's a stronger connection.
It's a stronger connection. That's what holds us together. I've been in relationships before where it was just literally, I was just there because I was
Physical.
like, physical. I'm only there because I like how you look, but I'm not really vibing with the person you are, right? Like, or your personality.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the spark people talk about because I've been on dates where it's hard and I think I have a good personality or, I think so. But, if I'm going on a date and it's like pulling teeth to get a conversation out, then it's like, I don't know if I would do a second date.
Yeah.
Where sometimes you just go on a date and it's like, I felt like I knew this person my whole life. And even the silent moments aren't like dead space. It's comforting.
I think that a good tip is to look for intellectual intercourse.
Yes.
Can
I like
you
that.
have
Sapposexual.
back
Yeah.
and forth, back and forth. And a tip, right? If you are on a date, right? I always tell people that to make every first date successful, find out what the other person is an expert in. Because number one, it is going to make the other person shine. They're going to feel comfortable.
Yeah. Number
two, you can learn something new.
That's true.
So it's like, even if you don't end up seeing this person or it's not a relationship afterwards, you can be like, oh, I learned something new. Success, ding, check.
Take notes.
Take notes,
Yeah.
dropping gems. There you go. Take that. Now, what are some of the more common excuses that you have that you find? The skinny one was obviously ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a personal preference thing, but what are some of the things that you hear about? Because you mentioned in the beginning of the episode, people were just sort of tired of dating here, but you seem to have a very positive experience dating here. What are some of the things that maybe men and women are doing here locally that are catching them pitfalling? Because that's something that I've heard. I actually know 2 people that have left because the dating was so bad.
I know a lot of people that have left. I think that when you're going into any date or any scenario with a negative perspective on it, you're never going to win. Period. Yeah. So if you're like, oh, I give up, there are no good men here, there are no good women here, you're always going to fail. Period. Yeah. So I like to say you need to date like a duck. Everything is water off your back. So you go on a date with somebody. If it's a great experience, amazing. If it's not the greatest experience, no problem, next. And I think that a lot of people get caught up on that. They hang on to the hope of something rather than focusing on if there was any connection, true connection with this person. They're hanging on to the hope of a relationship or to just say they're in a relationship rather than seeking true compatibility and connection.
I think that speaks more to how you feel about yourself, though, if you're holding on to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're insecure with yourself, you're going to allow things that are not good for you, but you're going to hold on to them. As opposed to being a confident person, I'm sure the moment you start seeing a couple red flags, 1 or 2, whatever your limit is, you're going to be like, I'm out of here. I'm that type of person where when I date, or when I've dated more recently as an older I guess, older, younger person, I just don't invite certain things into my
Correct.
life.
Yeah.
I just have no tolerance for it. There's certain things I understand there's just human reactions to certain things, but there's toxicity, sort of like not being emotionally intelligent. Like you need to be vulnerable with your own emotions. I need that because I need to know how you feel, and I need you to be comfortable enough to communicate those feelings to me, or else our relationship is never going to work. So
I think that how you allow people to treat you is a direct reflection of your self-esteem and how you love yourself.
yeah.
I have a question for you. How do you deal with cultural differences here? Because like you said, there's not a lot of Americans here. So how do you personally deal with cultural differences in dating? And then as well as how do you set the expectations for your clients? Like, do you have a lot of locals that are coming to you and they have traditional ways of dating and getting married? And
Yeah,
that
I
like?
mean, it's interesting, right? When I think about, like, I think that's one of the greatest positives about dating here in Dubai is that you can literally date the entire map. You have access to so many different people from so many different walks of life, nationalities, religions, backgrounds. I think that that's the most amazing part. Some people might find that challenging, right? Especially if you're a person that grew up in a homogeneous community where everybody looks the same, speaks the same, has the same religion, background. It might be something difficult for you to adjust and accept other different types of dating pools. But for the most part, I would think that most people that move to this country are open-minded. It's just I guess it's a matter of preference in terms of, I say that religion should be a factor if you are interested in having a family, because then that goes into possibly how you're going to raise your children under which religion, and both parties need to be on the same page with that, because that's a family that you're creating, a unit. But what I will say is when I deal with, because we do have GCC clients.
Okay.
Each one of them is different, but like I have a client, for example, who studied in the West and wants a Western wife because he is used to that kind of mindset, and that's what he's seeking. I have another client that's like, I will only marry GCC, but they need to have studied in the West. So it's interesting how that works there.
For you personally, when you're dating, have you came across, are you dating differently than you would in New York?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. In the sense that I think that you should take advantage of dating the map when you are here, because I mean, I didn't grow up in like a homogeneous town, because like I grew up in New York, but maybe I grew up dating the same types of people. Where here you get to explore and experience something different that you actually might be attracted to or connect with. So I like to say that I don't have any type physically. It's more about like an energy between two people that makes the most sense. And which is why I always say, like, especially people who are on the apps, and even when I do matchmaking, right, I have to send profiles. I always say, don't judge from a flat profile. Meet this person in person, because you never know what kind of energy and connection you're going to have with them.
So I have two questions. I'll ask the first one. What are your like sort of general thoughts on dating apps, on the not your concierge
What's currently
app,
out there is broken.
Okay, and why is that?
It is broken because most of these apps are freemium in the sense that anybody can join.
Yeah.
There is no filtering system when it comes to that. So you don't even know who you're getting. Is this a real person? Is this scammer? I mean, there's so many scams that go on now. It's actually kind of scary.
Yes.
And with that being said, especially in a place like Dubai, where most of us are expats, there's no history between these people that you're meeting. And most of, like, when you're on the dating apps, right, these people live in your phone. So you don't feel an actual emotional connection to them, rather than somebody introducing you to somebody, or, oh, you went to the same university, or you live in the same neighborhood. There's some kind of accountability intact there, where now there isn't. So people become disposable, and then you start getting treated that way, which I think that's broken.
Yeah. Do you feel like the dating apps have made people lazy in dating as well? Because I've heard, well, one, I heard people get brave, right? You should see some of the responses some of my girlfriend's friends get on the dating apps. They would never
It's
say that in person.
horrendous.
They would never say that in person.
Yeah.
And also,
I dare you.
dudes,
Say it to my face.
Even from the
and they wouldn't
woman's
shoot their shot,
perspective,
and they wouldn't
like,
shoot their
yeah.
shot in person to that person anyway. Because
Yeah.
what's the loss that's gonna happen? You don't get a response to the most of them. It's
Yeah.
faceless, right? And I think that I agree with you that from what I've heard and some of the experience that I hear just from Mike, right? This is just from his own experiences, right? Sometimes I feel like people, when it comes to dating in today's day and age, don't focus on the emotions too much. They focus
Correct.
everything on the physical, because now everything with social media and these dating apps, you catch everything visually, but how am I gonna like this person? When I sit down with them, when I communicate with them, how is it that they view the world? How is it that they react to certain situations emotionally, right? Psychologically, right? So,
I love this. Yeah, no, keep
right.
on saying,
I just find that these apps don't take accountability for that, and that's the reason that what leads to people saying, "Oh, men ain't this or women ain't that," right? Like it's so it's sort of you never gave yourself the opportunity to sort of sit down and judge them from a different angle, rather than because you're already judging them just based on physicality. Right.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I just find it. Look, I never want to be single in this day and age, because I think I would personally struggle. But I just find that these apps have really made people lazy in the way that they approach people.
Yeah, and I also think like what you were saying is that people are being judged right away on their physical appearance. And what I love about what we're creating with Maxion is that we really take into account shared values, life goals, and the current AI engine that we're building in parallel. It's all about like what you were saying, like we're gonna have like personality involved in that, right? Emotional intelligence, what kind of compatibility. And what is really interesting to me is that nowadays everybody is just swiping, and they are they're not connecting, and then they're seeing this person as something else because of social media. Like the other day I went out, and this girl who had just met me for the first time, but she only knew me from social media, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so different in person." I'm like, yeah, like I'm not giving you 30-second bits like my entire damn day.
right?
Like, oh, and let me tell you, I don't know, like that's not how I am personally. But anyway, with that being said, it's all about connection. And what I like and what I see is that there's this kind of like shift where people are really like, I don't want to be on a dating app anymore. And people are seeking connection. And that's what I can't wait to bring to the market.
Okay. Awesome. I have one. So being that Dubai is an extravagant place, what are the expectations that people have coming over here, like on a first date, like from a woman's perspective? We see Dubai bling. Are they expecting to get helicopter ride and eat it at the restaurant? Under the Atlantis, underwater? And for a guy, we're like, all right, you might have to get a Chanel bag on the second date or something.
Oh my God, Chanel. I think that it's interesting, right? Because everybody has different expectations, and I don't fault any man, any woman for putting their standards directly out there. This is what I expect. Good for you, because guess what? The God and universe rewards you when you are direct and clear.
Yes, I agree
and
with
completely.
that.
So guess what? These women who are like, I need a Chanel bag before you take me on a first date, they most likely get it, because they're just like, this is what you need to do.
And this is the
I
market
don't
where you'll
fault
get
them.
it.
I know. And for me, I'm like, good on you, girl. Like, you know exactly what you want. I think that there are different expectations, different people. Everybody is so individual, but Dubai does have this kind of like Dubai bling aspect to it, where people might think that that's how Dubai is. But what I love about this place is that you can make Dubai anything you want it to be. Whether you want to be a super party place, super glitz, you can be in the mountains one day, in the sea in the same day, in the downtown in the same exact day, within hours of each other. Like for me, like I'm sober, so like I live a sober life here, and I still go out and I still do all these things. And I think that everybody has different levels of expectation and standard, and it's just what you want from a partner or what you're expecting. But what I will say is a lot of people ask me about the list, right? Creating a list of, oh, these are the requirements that I want in a partner. And I always love to say, you can create that list of qualities and values, go for it. But then you need to be that list in order to attract that person.
Finally, because
Yeah.
you need to attract what you are, or what you
1000%,
right, or
yeah.
what you exude to. If you want a successful person, whatever metric, you also need
Yeah.
to be sort of successful in that
Ambitious.
measure, right? Or
Yeah.
ambitious, right?
Driven.
Driven, successful, whatever. If you want to be if you want an emotionally intelligent partner, you need
You
to
must be.
You must be emotionally intelligent. If you want them
Yeah.
to be vulnerable, you need to be vulnerable, right?
1000%.
It's like people want to just take and not give, and I think that's where people are
Yes.
faulting today.
Yes, and I think though that ties into a lot on social media, and what I see a lot in people in general, and this is funny, but what I see a lot is that nowadays people's personalities are just repetitions of podcasts that they listen to. It's
my
no
gosh,
like real innate opinions on things or any kind of like deduction of an actual original thought. It's all things that are heard and repeated, which I find crazy. I'm like,
It is.
what?
You know what's funny? For this
I'm like-
podcast episode, we could have followed the traditional sort of like,
Yeah.
we could have taken this in this traditional route that would just get virality and just get clicks and stuff like that. But I wanted the just sort of just
Yeah.
make it about the podcast for a second. We want original, authentic conversation that sort of trends away from that sort of clickbait stuff. Because I
Yeah.
think we're stuck, tying it back to what you said, everyone's stuck back on social media. Everybody kind of attaches their worth now to social media in a strange way,
Yeah.
right? Which is weird to me because I grew up without social media, so I don't need an app or telling me how many followers or clicks I get on a like or a post to determine my worth, right? Eventually, yes, that's a certain mark of your success on any business. Of course, more clicks, more
I always
likes.
say, don't be a slave to the views and the likes. If you're producing content, produce content because you're contributing something. I mean, whether that's a booty pic or education, whatever you want, you are contributing to society.
Yeah, you are. And I guess one more question about your app. So without giving too much of the secret sauce, 'cause I know you're in just right before pre-launch.
It's okay.
Can you give us a little bit to the extent that you
Yeah.
can, how your app uses AI to sort of
Yeah.
match people?
Definitely. So the AI engines that we're building in parallel. So the way that it works is obviously you need data in order to build an engine that learns. And the feedback so we're collecting after people meet. So I think like the key things about our app that make us different from others, besides like the vetting and it's an exclusive platform, is that once it's a yes on both sides, we actually plan, book, and confirm the date. That's part of that concierge that goes into it. And then after that, we collect feedback, internal and external feedback, so the other person knows whether it was a good connection or not, or you move on. But the internal feedback will feed into our AI engine that will then perfect the compatibility process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seems that is gold nowadays. So like
It is, because it's also good for us to learn. And like what I've learned as a matchmaker as well is you can never tell if somebody is actually going to get on until they meet in person.
that is true.
You can't, like, two profiles can be absolutely perfect for one another, then they just don't have anything going on.
Okay.
Where I think I can predict what compatibility will be. So when I do kind of like push a client to go on a date, 9 out of 10 times they end up going, I'm going to I'll make up a name, Sarah again.
Okay, nice.
And then you go, I told you.
Yeah. So what are some of the, I guess tying it back to that, what are some of the common dating pitfalls that you've seen that your clients experience? Because you work with a particularly niche market, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming these guys are super hardworking. They're entrepreneurs, they're CEOs.
Most of them are founders, CEOs. They've built their own empires, and that's where the whole, maybe they didn't build out their networks because they were busy building their own empires, or they just are very time poor and they need somebody, or they're used to outsourcing everything in their life, and that's why they hire a matchmaker. It's funny because I think that people have this misconception that like our guys are people who can't get dates. Like I look at our database of clients, I'm like, these men are hot, they're good looking, they're builders, but they're kind and they're authentic and they're actually putting an investment into their future and leaving it to the experts. And I'm like, They're
I
amazing.
can see women right now. What's the
They should. ChristianaMaxion.com. Sign up.
And what are some of the common pitfalls you see
Yeah.
that they have when they're dating
yep.
in that sort of niche type of kind of specific type of man?
I would say that I have two types of clients. I mean, I don't like put people in boxes, but there are some of our clients come to us and they use the service to have a wider network. Different choices, more options. And some of our clients come to us because they want to learn and they want to become better daters and better partners. Some of our clients, I think, because we do offer unlimited matchmaking opportunities, they want to go on dates with lots and lots of women, which is fine because that's what we offer and we have the database to support it. Some of our clients don't date enough. And I tell them, right, I actually prefer the guy who goes on 100 dates. Well, we never put guys on 100 dates, but I prefer the guy who goes on dates because then the process becomes perfected because your feedback then actually helps us basically narrow it down and curate the entire experience so that you find success.
Awesome.
I have a guy who goes on one date every 2 months, and I'm like, you need to go on more
You gotta put the shots up, man.
but you need to go on more dates because not only dating is a skill, it's a muscle that you need to flex. So you need to go on the dates, and then we need to hear feedback from both parties in order to find you success.
That's why recent divorcees who've been in long marriages struggle dating out the gate because they just gotten used to certain habits from their own relationship that doesn't really apply to modern dating etiquette, right? So
we have lots of clients that come to us post-divorce because they've never dated in the 2020s. They have no idea what dating looks like nowadays, and they want the guidance and the help that we can provide them.
Yeah. I have a quick one. What about PDA in Dubai?
It's fine.
Is
No, it's not fine. I think what I love about the UAE is that it is a country where there are rules and things are very black and white, and it is very respectful. I think about versus living in the States, people are really wild. People are wild and lewd and crass. Where here I prefer the rules. I think it's much more classy.
Okay, but it's not to the extreme. I just because I want to use this platform to also dispel the myths that people think you can't give a peck on a kiss.
No, just don't be vulgar. Holding
I
hands
think vulgarity
is
is not welcomed here, right? But it's holding hands, giving a peck kiss every once in a while. No one's judging you off of that. It's when you start slobbering and stuff like that. It's maybe, but I wouldn't want to see that no matter where I'm at. Doesn't matter, right?
But you see it a lot in other places in the world.
It's true. It is true. So do you also get single parents that come to you who are men?
Of course.
So.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah. I love, I always say too, with joining the database as a woman, please join any shape, size, color, age, religion, everything, any kind of marital status, because you never know which kind of clients we're going to have. And it's funny because I think that people have this misconception that the clients that we have are only looking for models who are 22 years old. Oh my goodness, no. Yeah. Our clients come to us for real connection. And they also understand that that's not just physical. There needs to be intellectual, emotional, all of that involved as well.
Okay, cool. And just one quick question. You've heard of the app Raya? That's So what would be, I guess, some differences between sort of your app and Raya? Because they kind of cater to the same crowd, sort of, I think.
Where we are exclusive, like Raya is, there will be a waiting list and all of that. But I think that what's different about us is most of the people that are on Raya, it's hard to find Dubai people on there. And with us, it's exclusive for Dubai only at the moment, and then we will be launching city by city. And with that as well is the whole concierge that goes into it, the feedback. But the number one thing that I cannot wait to share about Maxion are our in-person events. So as Maxion members, you get invited to events that are small group, medium group, one large social per quarter. I like to say that it's going to be like university parties with a touch of sophistication.
Might have to do it behind the scenes.
No, that you have to keep the exclusivity so that people can keep going.
Yes.
That's the thing, right? Okay, so 2 questions before I think we wrap this up. So the first one is, well, 3. If I'm new to the city,
Yes.
what advice, now that you've had this wealth of experience as a matchmaker, your own dating experience, what advice would you give to someone who's a new expat here in terms of navigating the dating scene here in Dubai?
Say yes to every date. Just go. I mean, obviously in safe spaces. Like, I mean, don't go to anybody's house. Don't get in anybody's car. Meet in public places. Say yes. What a really cool thing, especially if you're new to the city, I like to call it a dating wish list.
Got it.
Write down all different places you want to go, experiences you want to have. So when somebody does ask you out on a date, you can kind of be like, oh, I haven't been to Dubai Aquarium yet. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And then let's say, even if it's a bust of a date, you went to Dubai Aquarium.
Exactly. It's cool. No, it's really cool.
I think that's a great way to be in a new city.
Yeah,
doing
trying
that.
different things rather
Why
than going to the
not?
same dinners, right? Like you could always go to dinner with
Oh
your
my
friends. or
gosh,
anything, right?
exactly. Do something
Okay,
different.
so what advice would you give yourself now that you know 2020 is hindsight is 2020? What
Yeah.
advice would you give yourself now that you've have this experience in matchmaking? What would you have told yourself 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 6
You're
years
going to
ago?
be a billionaire. Enjoy the ride. Take every left, take every right, take every U-turn.
Oh man, that's cool.
Billy.
Yeah, no, it's really, I think when you go through experiences in your life, you kind of like,
Definitely.
you can't repeat anything that's already done, right? It's done, but you could always apply it forward. And I think that's the reason why there's never any losses. There's always wins and experiences, right? And learning lessons.
I had a principal or director of the school once, in like her beginning of the school year speech, she said, fail forward.
No.
And then as I'm going through this startup journey of being a first-time tech founder, I keep hearing this, and the way that I've kind of like condensed it, fail forward and fail fast. But I don't like the word fail. I like to say that everything is a lesson learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, you have to go through it. I think you can't appreciate the highs without the lows. Like, there are times where I've been broke, like broke, $0, like everything on credit cards. Then I look at my life now, like even now, like I go through like broke times because it's like I'm in the fundraising process. I'm doing all of this. So I appreciate all of the successes and the highs and the love that we're getting, because maybe I needed to go through those 0 bottom out times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mike, I gotta ask you one question. It's completely
Go,
left field,
yeah.
right? Left field. So you said something interesting on one of your stories, and me and Mike just want to get some clarification.
Yeah.
So you said 3 things that identify him as a brokie.
Brokey.
Right? So the first one, I don't mind the other 2. Cheap, tip, like being
Not
cheap with tipping,
tipping.
right? That's
Yeah.
okay, fine. I think that's. But the first one about coffee dates.
Yes,
What if I'm
I
around?
hate
What if I
coffee
meet you?
dates.
We already had a dinner date, and I'm just
I'm
around your
talking
area.
about coffee
First
for
date, no,
first
first
Oh, for a
date.
first date. Oh.
Nobody even
I
saw.
was like, yo, if I'm around you, I'm thinking about you. Let's go get a 15-minute coffee.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
like
of course.
I would think that's
but
thoughtful.
You know what? I wouldn't say coffee, because I think that that's also, I mean, maybe I burn this into women's brains. Say, hey, I'm at whatever the cafe's name. You want to come meet or whatever? But I will say, day of dates, I hate that. You need to plan in advance.
Yeah.
Like I always say this, like a guy last night was like, hey, I'm going to be at so-and-so. You want to come meet me? And I literally just wrote back, I'm not a day of plan girl.
Yeah, because you
like, I'm
respect
just
your
not.
time, right? You can't just hit them up last minute. I'm
Do
not
you
an
think
afterthought,
I
right?
have nothing to do on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Even if my plan is eating Doritos on the couch, like I got a plan
You got
tonight.
plans today. You got
Plans.
plans. Okay, so it's more like don't do day of plan, just to go get coffee, right? But if it happens
Because
to be,
it doesn't show effort,
okay,
and it makes somebody feel like a last minute plan.
so it's like broke
A last
mentality.
minute
It's almost like
decision.
broke mentality.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
So the coffee thing is cheap,
Yeah.
period.
Oh, yeah.
Like done. Like also, like how romantic can you get on a coffee? Especially the first time that you're meeting somebody.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably gonna dress differently and treat you differently if I'm meeting you for coffee, because when I meet people for coffee, it's for business. and business deals. And I don't think you're in like your sexiest kind of mode when you're doing that. I even say, right, let's say you're watching your wallet. Do a lunch, do a breakfast, have a meal with somebody, or like, go to the aquarium. Why not? Aquariums are cool.
Okay. We just want to clarify for the fellas out there.
Don't
no
do
coffee dates on the first date, fellas.
Date.
All right.
Do lunch. Even if you're, do lunch, right?
Yeah, because even if you're a little strapped, you know, the month is a little tight, you know, dinner at Zuma may cost a little bit. Take her to a cafe in the middle of the day. It's just, right?
Also, I always say that it's the man's job to fit the date within his wallet. Don't like, because then you don't have any kind of animosity towards the other person if it didn't go well and it doesn't turn into something. But that's on you. You're the one planning it, so be smart.
Yeah, you should always keep it within expectations. I found like a lot of people, men especially, like to overextend themselves, and then they don't maybe get the result that they're looking for. Then they hold it against the person on the other side,
and that's not fair.
That's not fair at all. Okay, cool. So last question before we sign off. So as you know, the name of the podcast is Last Flight Out, and what that means is, you know, me and Mike, we sort of like punched our ticket out of New York and got to this place being an expat and sort of changed our lives forever. And we want to ask every guest, especially you, what was that sort of moment in your life where you punched your ticket? What was your last flight out? So in other words, what was that moment in your life that had you not taken that risk, you wouldn't be here in front of us right now?
I feel like I'm going to cry. Like happy tears. Getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me from education. One of the other greatest things that ever happened to me was that breakup. I mean, he was the vehicle that initially brought me here. I wouldn't be here without that relationship. That breakup and then things that came after that. I will say that anytime anybody tells me no or is a naysayer or a hater, that is my ticket. And that fuels me so much. Like, there are times, and of course, especially with building businesses, where you're going to hear no a lot. Yeah. I love it. Tell me no every single time, because I think that I did a reel the other day where it was like, what are like the 2 words that like changed my life or whatever, and like what I had to say back. And it was like, I love when somebody tells me no, and what I just say back is watch me.
That's
I like that.
That's sort of, I like to apply that in my own life too. So why you don't tell before we sign off, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Yes,
and sort of any events you got coming up that you want to, that you would just want to shout out there?
For sure. Well, if you are looking for love in the city, please either apply to be a matchmaking client or join our free database at christianamaxion.com. And if you are ready to outsource your love life and elevate your connections, please join Maxion. That's Maxion, themaxion.com. Sign up for our VIP waitlist. And I think we're going to be on the App Store in a couple weeks. So I'm like so excited.
Congratulations.
So yeah, join.
So thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that thumbs up button and share this video for the LFO boys. And follow us on social media at Last Flight Out Podcasts. Again, you can follow me at jlubriel26.
I mean, if Mike was here.
Yep. See you guys next week.
Bye.
My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.